So in this video, I'm going to talk about post-accident procedures, and post-accident procedures begin before you ever have an accident. And knocking on wood here, I hope you never have an accident. It's a lot involved in there. So you really need a forward-facing and driver-facing dash camera. That's going to help you in accidents more than anything else right there is having that dash camera in the truck. The second thing is you need procedures for the driver on what to do after an accident. They really, if you think about it, if you've ever been involved in an accident, you're stressed, you messed up, I'm getting fired, something could happen to me on this, and you just need to have the procedures down. Where the problem with accidents happen with the insurance company is late reporting of accidents. So the first part of your procedure when you're training your drivers is, I don't care how bad you messed up, you've got to tell me that you had the accident. Don't hide it from me. Don't tell me that a week later that you had a fender bender, or we get a letter from a lawyer or something like that there was this accident. You have to tell us that the accident occurred. Your insurance company wants you to report the accident within 24 hours, usually the same day. And the procedures are different from insurance companies. It may be the procedure is you call your insurance agent to report it because they are offering you assistance on this, or the insurance company gave you an 800 number to call on that, and you got to report it that way. But the secret is the accident must be reported within 24 hours. Anything later than that, the cost of the claim significantly goes up. If you think about the lawyers that advertise on billboards that says, "Have you been hit by a big truck?" That's what happens is if there is late reporting of claims, the person that was involved in the accident gets ticked off. They're going, well, no one's calling me, no one's handling this, no one's doing anything. And they see one of those commercials, or they pass one of those billboards, and they go, well, I'm just going to get a lawyer involved in this. Well, that cost of that claim significantly went up because of that. And late reporting of claims can cause insurance companies to cancel your insurance. If you contact an insurance company 30 days later and you should have known about the accident at the time of the accident and you didn't report it to the insurance company, they may cancel your policy. And that can result in more cost to your company, because if you get a cancellation and you get another insurance company, you go back to your agent and go, I need another insurance company, they're going to ask about the cancellation of the other policy, what happened. And then when they find out it's late reporting of claims, then you're going to have a real difficult time on getting new insurance. So number one on your accident procedures is all claims and accidents must be reported within 24 hours. The second part of the procedure is you want your drivers to call you immediately, and then you want to start your accident investigation. So what we do with our clients, and I want you to get in the habit of doing this, is you're going to be a good operation and have a forward-facing and driver-facing dash camera. That's what you need. You're going to pull the video of that. And generally what we supply to an insurance company is 1 minute before the accident, 1 minute after the accident. That gives you an idea of what's happening. If the accident involves a fatality or a serious injury, then what they're really going to look for is 30 minutes before the accident leading up to it. They want to know what the driver was doing leading up to that accident. So you may have to pull more accident footage from the video camera. So that's the most important thing there, because what happens with these camera companies is there's usually an SD card in the camera. There's very limited space on there. So if you don't pull that video like the same day that the accident happens, it could go a few days and then it'll get written over the accident. Then you're going to get into a litigation problem if the lawyers get involved, that You should have got that video, you didn't, and they're going to be able to say that you spoiled evidence because you were not prudent enough to get the video out of the camera. So make sure that as soon as an accident happens, pull the video footage and get it downloaded. And go ahead and get several minutes beforehand. I'm just telling you that when you submit the video to your insurance company, you want 1 minute before, 1 minute after, and you just have to edit the video to that to send it to them. It just makes it easier on that claim process. The second thing is you need to get a statement from your driver. And this is where a lot of motor carriers, what they do is they have the driver take out a sheet of paper or on their notes app on their phone or whatever and write what happens. That's great, but generally it's not a great story on there, and it's better to have a conversation with the driver and start asking questions. And the way I handle it with drivers a lot of times is I'll have the driver explain to me about the accident and tell them to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. I actually use that sentence. Like, a driver, I understand from what you told me that a four-wheeler hit you in the passenger side of the vehicle and that's what caused the crash. Great. Now I need to start asking the follow-up questions to say what really happened to get more detail. So the driver tells me, well, this four-wheeler was in the lane to the right of me and they hit me in the side of my truck. Okay, then I start asking questions. Where did they hit you in the truck? Was it at the steer tire on the passenger side? Was it at the door? Was it at the drive tires? Was it in the trailer? Was it in the first part of the trailer, the middle part of the trailer, the last part of the trailer? You know, where exactly did they hit you on that? So getting more details on that, and I'll tell you the most important thing to understand where an accident happens is if you have the dash camera, getting the latitude and longitude of where the accident occurred. That is key right there. It's one thing to say it happened near exit 20 on Interstate 40 versus it was 300 yards past exit 20 on Interstate 40 because you had the latitude and longitude. So what I train my team on is to get on Google Earth, put in the latitude and longitude from the camera, determine where that is to say, okay, I'm looking at Google Earth right now while I'm talking to you, driver. It looks like you just passed exit 20. You were in the middle lane. The other car was in the right lane. It's 3-lane interstate. And it looks like you just got past exit 20 where I see the crash happening. And is that true? And they'll go, oh, yeah, that's really what happened. But getting that latitude and longitude will really help you determine where the accident occurred and make sure that you are doing that. Okay, so we got the video, we got the driver statement, we got the latitude and longitude, we're good on all that. Then you need to get the weather report downloaded for that. I don't care if it was a bright sunny day. At some point in litigation, they're going to ask for a weather report. You might as well get it right now to show whatever the weather conditions were at that. So go to theweather.com or AccuWeather or whatever and get the weather report. Take a screenshot of the area. The great thing about the weather apps is if you get the latitude and longitude, you can just put the latitude and longitude in, and then that's what it's going to show. So that will really help key in on what the weather was right there. The other thing that you have to do is if your driver is using an electronic logging device, go ahead and download the last 8 days of logs. Just figure out, okay, the accident happened today, go back 8 days, download a PDF of the logs, you get that, you have that, because in litigation that would be something that happens, and with litigation it could be 2, 3, 4 years from now. Well, the ELD only keeps 6 months of data, and if you don't have it, then you're going to get that spoliation of evidence claim again. Is I don't have the driver's logs for that day. So get the logs on that. And then if your driver can get photos, depending on the accident and the severity of the accident, I see this a lot with drivers where they'll get right up to the damage on the truck, and you really can't get a feel of where the damage is on the truck and all that. So the way I explain to drivers is, sure, take a close-up of the damage to the right front fender where this happened on this accident, this fictitious accident I'm talking about, but then step back a little bit if you can and show the whole tractor so I can see where the damage is. And then sometimes even walk 50 yards out so we have a better idea of the scene of the accident versus these up close photos on that. That will help tell the story also. You know, even if you had a forward facing dash camera, that's only catching the front of the truck. It's not catching the sides. It's not catching all that. But instructing your drivers to say, if you can safely, take a picture up close of the damage, back up a few feet, take it so I can see the whole tractor, and then back up several yards so I can see the scene of the accident. If there is damage to another vehicle, let's say the driver is at a red light and they bump the car in front of them, that's key on getting pictures of the damage of the rear of the car that they hit, because what happens is the person will claim that they have severe back and neck injuries and all that. But if you have a picture of the other vehicle, then you know, oh, well, there was not even a scratch on that bumper. That really helps with the defense of the case to get that. Teach your drivers to be polite, and you know, the way I teach drivers is say, do you mind if I take pictures of the damage to your back bumper on this situation? Then, and they generally go, yeah, that's fine. Also instruct your drivers, we do not take pictures of injured people. No one wants to see that. It's not relevant to the situation. It's not anything that we want a driver that shows somebody is, you know, got a broken leg or anything like that. We're really just looking at how bad was the damage to the vehicle and all that. So you've got all that information, and then you've got to save all that information, and you've got to have it in a way that anybody who picks up that file, that they know what's going on in the accident. And here's what really happens is when I was doing auditing of motor carriers, I would talk to a safety director, and I talked to them about an accident that happened 6 months ago, and they go, oh, that was the other safety director that used to be here, and I don't have that information anymore. That's a problem. That's a real problem on that. So make sure that you set up your procedures, whether it's an accident file, whether it's a Dropbox, whether it's anything, that the owner of the company and management has access to that accident data so that you can get to it, and then one safety director just doesn't have it on their personal Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that, and it disappears when they leave the company and all that. So think about that as you're setting everything up. Then there's some accident documentation required, like if it is a DOT recordable accident, and that is a fatality, an injury that was taken away from the scene by ambulance, or a vehicle that was towed away from the scene of the accident, those three categories. Then you have to have a DOT accident register. So you need that, and then you need a overall accident register. And that is so that you can work on training your drivers on driver behavior on all those little accidents. It could be in a terminal lot where they back into a fence or a pole or something like that. But you need a complete record of every incident that happens with your operation to make sure that you have the documentation so you can solve whatever the problems are. So making sure you collect all the information at the time of the accident. The last thing on that information is completing an accident report. Your insurance company should give you an accident report. And the best thing I can tell you about an accident report, get the video, take the driver statement, get your photos, get the logs, get the weather, latitude and longitude, get all that together, write your accident report, and then remember that that accident report is discoverable in litigation. So if you get sued and the lawyer goes, "Do you have an accident report?" Yes. Almost every jurisdiction in America, judge-wise, is going to make you produce that accident report. The main things about the accident report: just state facts. Do not state anything else. Don't state that, the other driver was, hostile or, anything like that. Just stick to the facts of the accident. The other thing that is post-accident that you need to get is the crash report from law enforcement. So identifying at the time of the crash that it was the Arkansas Highway Patrol that responded to the accident. Then about 7 days later, you would go to the Arkansas Highway Patrol website, order that crash report. It may not be ready yet, depending on the severity of the accident, but you're going to get a copy of that accident report. I see so many motor carriers that rely on their insurance company to get it. They think their insurance company is going to get it, but they don't get it. And it can really help you understand what's going on with the accident. If you think that from your accident investigation that the officer said that your driver was not at fault, so you're thinking, "Oh, my driver was not at fault, the other car ran into us," but then you get that report and you see something written in there that the officer says, "After thinking about it, I think it was your driver's fault," you would never know that information unless you ordered that crash report. So make sure that you order the crash report from law enforcement. So the key thing at the time of the accident is identifying, is it the Highway Patrol? Is it a sheriff deputy? Is it local PD? Is it, whoever? Again, that's the information you're getting out of your driver at the time of the accident on that. Other things that could come out of an accident is a roadside inspection. It's a DOT recordable accident, and your driver is given a roadside inspection at the time of the crash, and generally they'll have the defects post-crash of what the officer saw at the time of the crash. So let's say a steer tire is flat as a result of the collision. You may have a roadside inspection that says you have a violation for a tire that was flat after the accident. But I have found that drivers generally are not good at turning those in to motor carriers. So you got to ask, did they do a roadside inspection after the crash? Yes. I need you to send me that right now. The second piece of paper that the driver could receive after a crash is a violation, a citation ticket. So they would have the roadside inspection, and then they could have a citation ticket there for whatever the reason is. Could be speeding or whatever. You have to ask your driver on that. Again, they're fearful that they're going to lose their job because of this. You've got to ask, did you get a roadside inspection? Yes, send it to me. Did you get a citation? Yes, send it to me, so that you can deal with it on that. Make sure that you put that information in the accident file. I see sometimes motor carriers get a roadside inspection. They'll send it over to the maintenance department. They got to correct the defect and all that, and then it gets lost over in the maintenance department. You don't want that either. So make sure that it is in the accident file. All right, I know that was a lot, so let's go through it again just real quick. You're going to have instructions on what a driver needs to do after an accident. Give them the 800 number to you, or whatever number you have to report an accident 24/7. You're going to report accidents within 24 hours. Even if you don't have all the information yet, you've got to report it to your insurance company within 24 hours. I want you to have a forward-facing and driver-facing dash camera in your trucks because that is the best thing to defeat accidents is having video. You're going to get that video downloaded ASAP so you don't lose it. You're going to take a statement from your driver. You're going to get the weather report downloaded. You're going to download their logs. You're going to get photos if you can. You're going to get that driver statement and ask the question so you have an absolute understanding of what happened. You're going to ask about the roadside inspection, send it to me. Any citations, send it to me. And then once you get all of that, you're going to save it so anyone in the company can pick up the file and know exactly what's going on with the accident. I can't tell you how many times that I would talk to a safety director doing an audit and say, tell me about this accident. And they would spend 30 minutes trying to figure out what's going on with the accident because they didn't have good notes and they didn't know what was going on with the accident. Put that together in your paper file, or even if you use Dropbox or Google Drive or something, put in some type of document that says this is an overview of the accident and put that in there. Fill out your accident report. Get the crash report from law enforcement. Again, it could be 7-10 days. If it's a fatality accident, it could be 6 months to a year before you get that report. But get all that information, have it ready for your insurance company. And the easiest thing I've ever found is to put all that information either in a Dropbox or a Google Drive and just send your insurance company the link to everything that you have. That way they're not having to guess in a paper file, did I get everything and all that. If you'll do that within 24 hours, get all of that stuff as much as you can, put in a link, send it to your insurance company, have it reported and all that, you will see a great reduction in the cost of your claims and the accidents that you may have. So doing that is really going to make you more efficient and save your company a lot of money doing this. I hope this helps. Y'all be safe out there.